Hello to everyone. This is Viewpoint on noyantapan.tv, and I am Benyamin Poghosyan, Senior Research Fellow at Armenia. Today we will discuss the perspectives of Armenia-Azerbaijan negotiations. Currently, we have an interesting situation when, after military takeover of Nagorno-Karabakh and forced displacement of all Armenians in September 2023, it seems that sides should be very close to signing a peace agreement. However, 7 months passed, nothing happens. Now we see more and more demand from Azerbaijan, including so-called process of delimitation and demarcation, villages, non-enclave villages and enclave villages. But key here is another thing. During his recent meeting with international experts on April 23 in Baku, Azerbaijan, President Aliyev clearly stated that the changing of Armenian constitution is a precondition for the signature of peace agreement. However, we all should understand that President Aliyev is smart enough to be aware that currently the constitutional changes are not realistic in Armenia. First of all, even from procedural point of view, this is a very complicated and a very complex process. But given this non-stop claims from Azerbaijan that this is a demand of Azerbaijan to change Armenian constitution, it will be extremely challenging for Prime Minister Pashinyan to push forward this idea. He thought to do this in early months of 2024. There was a backlash because people were telling that, okay, why we should change our constitution under the Azerbaijani demands. And then we see that these discussions went down. And most probably, Prime Minister Pashinyan will not be able to push forward this idea again, at least until 2026 parliamentary elections. Because if there is growing tensions in Armenia due to the non-stop losses in the last 4 years, starting from 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war and currently this so-called delimitation and demarcation process in Tavush, when we see that under the threat of use, Azerbaijan simply implements the land grab. Again, as I mentioned, it's very dangerous for Prime Minister Pashinyan now to speak about changes of constitution, at least until 2026 parliamentary elections. So what does it mean? It means that most probably Azerbaijan is not interested in signing a peace agreement. Otherwise, they will not put forward the preconditions which making the signature of such a peace agreement quite unlikely. And this is a very interesting point because many thought that, okay, Azerbaijani leadership should be interested to sign peace agreement as soon as possible under the current leadership of Republic of Armenia, because most probably any new government, regardless when it will come to power, it will be hardliner, at least on the issues related relation with Azerbaijan. Most probably, we may guess or we may think that the new government of Armenia, again, whenever it will replace the current government, will try to bring back at least part of the losses which Armenia endured in the period of 2020-2024. Most probably, for example, the new government could say that, okay, I demand the return of Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians into Nagorno-Karabakh, I demand an autonomous status for Nagorno-Karabakh under the international guarantees, or with the presence of international peacekeepers, or whatever international presence. Other options also are available. So, from this point of view, it seems that Azerbaijan should be interested to sign a peace agreement with current government, because most probably, under the new government, it will be much more unrealistic to have peace agreement with Armenia. But however, we see that Azerbaijan is putting absolutely unrealistic preconditions for the signature of peace agreement. For example, change of Armenian constitution. Even President Aliyev was speaking about change of Armenian coat of arms to get rid of Mount Ararat, and etc., etc. And all this brings us to the conclusion, yes, while Azerbaijani government understands very well that it will be extremely challenging to sign a peace agreement with the next Armenian government, simultaneously it is making efforts to prevent the signature of the peace agreement with current Armenian government. Which brings us to the conclusion that most probably Azerbaijan is not interested in any peace agreement at all. Otherwise, again, now it seems that it's a moment to sign a peace agreement. both after September 2023, military takeover of Nagorno-Karabakh, but also even after what we are witnessing in late May, early May 2024, this so-called delimitation and demarcation process in Taush. So it seemed that, okay, now it's a time, and Azerbaijan should say, yes, I also got my 4 villages, let's sign a peace agreement, let's fix this post-September 2023, or even we may call it post-April 2024 status quo. But no, Azerbaijan is pushing forward preconditions, undermining the peace process, and making signature of peace agreement totally unrealistic. Yes, there are some discussions that maybe some sort of statement could be signed, statement about the principles of peace agreement. This, it's possible, Azerbaijan may do that, especially before COP29, somehow to increase its image and to say that, yes, look, I'm interested in peace, so Armenia and Azerbaijan were able to reach understanding about principles of the peace agreement. But again, we are speaking about statement, not about legal document. Statement which is not going to be ratified by parliaments, which is not going to be confirmed by constitutional courts of Armenia and Azerbaijan. Yes, this type of document, statement on principles of peace agreement is possible, signature is possible before COP29, but when we speak about signature of peace agreement, legal document, then what Azerbaijan is doing is simply undermining any prospects of finding a peace agreement. And I believe it's very important to fix this, and it's very important to understand that, yes, Azerbaijan is not interested to sign peace agreement with Armenia. And why we think so? Because A, Azerbaijan pushed for the preconditions were absolutely unrealistic, and Azerbaijan knows it very well. But also Azerbaijan understands that it will be much more challenging to sign peace agreement with the next Armenian government. So, if peace agreement with next Armenian government is impossible, and while you are doing everything to undermine and prevent the signature of peace agreement with current Armenian government, the only logical conclusion is Azerbaijan is not interested in signing any peace agreement. Why? This is definitely another question. There could be different ideas or different reasons why Azerbaijan is not interested to sign peace agreement with Armenia. Okay, at least until 2026 elections, because as I mentioned, it's absolutely unrealistic that Armenia will be able to change its constitution at least until the next parliamentary elections in 2026. However, regardless of the motives of Azerbaijan, we should all take this into account. Armenia, but also international community, all actors involved in the South Caucasus, the European Union, United States, other Azerbaijani partners, Russia, Turkey, Iran, everyone who have interests in South Caucasus and who is a part of South Caucasus geopolitics should have clear understanding that Azerbaijan is not interested in signing a peace agreement with Armenia, and even more, Azerbaijan is doing everything to prevent the signature of peace agreement with Armenia. While from the Armenian government perspective, the peace agreement is definitely necessary, because what Armenian government needs now is to have some sort of good news after these 4 years of constant losses and humiliation. And from this perspective, legal peace agreement could be something very useful for Armenian government. And Armenian government may say, okay, look, we suffered, we lost a lot, but now we have a peace agreement, so our peace agenda worked, and we secured more or less stable and sustainable development for Armenia for next 10, 15, 20 years. Especially if, and most probably this is going to happen, after Armenia-Azerbaijan peace agreement, we will have also Armenia-Turkey normalization. So Armenian government is interested in peace agreement, but Azerbaijani government is doing everything to prevent signature of that peace agreement. This is all for today, and we will meet soon.